got a loan in TradFi, of course, like they have your place of business or where you work, and they have your social security number, they know who you are, and you have reputation, and that obviously that lacks in DeFi, so you can only take out a loan relative to how much collateral you put out, and you're always over collateralized. And so from like the standpoint of building a financial system, it's not optimal, right? So like having a soul-bound token or something that ties to your identity would be pretty keen, would really help
Yeah.
the space.
Yeah. And that's the show. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You missed the last
All right, yeah,
hour.
we're live. We're live right now, guys. We're running it live right now. We're talking. So we have five viewers now. Should I send out a VanEck notification so we get some more people in here? Or what
I just put it on Twitter. Said we're giving away a POAP and an NFT. I mean, what else do we have to do?
I don't know.
We'll end the show with a pizza eating contest.
Do you have pizza with you?
I wish I had some pizza right now.
I had to turn my fan off. I get yelled at for my fan, so I'm gonna be sweaty by the time this thing's over.
Oh,
I'm having a lot of cosmetic issues too. I got this thing on I woke up with this nice scratch on my face, so my glasses are fogging up.
So
I don't know what it was. It might have been myself. I might have just been having a bad dream or something like that. All right, let's do this. We got 5 people in the room. I'm gonna send the email. I'm just gonna do it. We got 5 people in the room. Thank you everybody for being here. I'm excited that you're here. Fun notification.
Get your questions teed up to see if you could stump Patrick Bush.
The first topic of discussion.
There's nothing off limits.
Nothing. But I really want to talk about the fact, this is a fact, that Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Like, how do we go about this? Like, this is important stuff. Why was it called Rhode Island? Is it because Cecil Rhodes had something to do with it? I'm sure that was before his time, like the RHODE. I don't know. I suppose I should know that.
Okay, here we go.
All right, let's do it.
My glasses are fogging up. This is a mess. Well, everybody, we had a nice little intro for a couple minutes. This is JP from Web3T. Very glad you're here. This is our 10th episode. And for our 10th episode, we have Patrick Bush on the line. Aximus is back, 1 of 6. So Patrick Bush is a senior investment analyst on the digital assets team. We're going to talk to him about what he does, what he's thinking about, what he's looking at, why he's here.
He's kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal. I mean, this is kind of a big one. Last week we had Kyle DeCruz, my boss, on. We had a great episode. The big news for today is that we have POAPs to give away. My glasses are fogging up. I can't do this. So we have POAPs to give away, and POAPs are proof of attendance protocol, which means that if you're here, if you're one of the people that are here, and you sign up on the QR code, you'll get a POAP in your wallet. So it's kind of a big deal, and we're going to talk about that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, let's get right into it. I think Patrick, anything you want to say to open this thing up? I mean, what do you think?
No, welcome everybody. Welcome to the wide world of crypto. It's wild, wild west, but we're here to kind of tame it and tell you what's up and how to look at things. And that's been basically my job last 5 months, figure all this out.
Speaking of last 5 months, so you started 5 months ago, and you know, our episode last time was about how to get a job in crypto. How did you get this job?
You know, like any other Wall Street job, I just called my rich uncle and he set me up, you know. Yeah. Uncle Moneybags got it. No, actually, in this case, I come from a non-traditional background, which I suppose is typical for crypto. And so I applied, I was listening to the podcast called The Defiant, and it's basically exploration of crypto projects and topics, and it's really informative. It's a good podcast if anyone's interested. And I heard this fellow on there, and his name was Matthew Siegel. And he was talking about crypto, and he talked about his journey not only into crypto, but into TradFi itself. And this TradFi journey was basically like, he was a CNBC producer, and he was tired of being on the other side of the camera. He wanted to be the fund manager. He wanted to get in finance. And so he said he cold called these people. He showed up people's doorsteps, like, your typical like salesman type stuff to get this done. And I thought to myself, like, gee, this guy sounds like smart, but I could do this job. More like I thought that I could just do the same thing he did. So I cold emailed him. I said, hey, like, I have a background as like a trader, did equity research and all this sort of stuff. I'm really interested in crypto, and I'd absolutely love to interview for a position if you have one. And this was in September of 21. And he said that he didn't have anything at the time, but he emailed me back. So at that point I thought, oh, okay, well, the resume's in the garbage bin. Like, I might as well look somewhere else. And oddly enough, he did email me back in December and asked me to do some interviews. So I did that with him and our head of trading, Greg Kenzer. And we had a discussion, and then they asked me to write a paper on a crypto protocol. And I thought, I want this job, and I really would love to just spend 60 hours outside of work writing up a crypto paper. And that was what I did after that. So I wrote a paper on a coin called Osmosis, and so I sent it to Matthew, and they gave me an offer, and then moved to New York City. So I was living in this beautiful town called Greenville, South Carolina, which, it's not beautiful, it's terrible. Don't ever move there. It's an awful place. Like, no one on this call should go there. It's just like, it's an ugly place.
Gatekeeper.
Yeah, they call it like a demilitarized zone of the South. Whatever. Okay. But anyway, so I moved up to New York City, and then started, and Matthew had me doing essentially what I'm doing now, which is anything he wants, and then layer one. So I'm a shared analyst between a couple of our internal funds, and then basically looking at any topic they want, but with a focus more on layer ones, and trying to apply the little college that I remember in economics and try to figure out things.
Did he collect the referral fee for? I mean, there might be you might be,
$500.
Yeah, I mean, he may want to look into that if you're watching, Matt. That's a really great intro. Yeah, exactly. It's a really great intro because it's a good tie-in to that last discussion. For if you're thinking about getting a job in the space, to be prepared to possibly have to write a research report. I mean, that's great.
Well, the thing that I said in the last episode too is, if you want to do this, start doing this on your own. Start writing things on your own. Like, start being able to understand. We're not gonna. Another thing too, to reemphasize, we're not going deep dive on tokens or projects or coins, bullish or bearish. We're not going to talk about funds. But in this case, you wrote something about osmosis, right? And so you had to have an idea and then be able to articulate it. And you you're cold calling for yourself, and you got the job. The one question I had that I didn't want to interrupt was, in the meantime, when you reached out to Siegel and you didn't hear back until December, did you keep sending out resumes? Did you keep cold calling like that? Or did you just throw out one and say, all right, well, that didn't work, I'm just going to keep, plugging away at my job I have?
Yeah, I was just launching just massive amounts of resumes at people. I was talking different protocols, like generally just curious about the space, and I devoted like basically all my free time to listening to it. So I wake up in the morning, like around 5, go for a walk with the dog, listen to crypto, go walk with the dog at night, listen to crypto, lunch break crypto. Like, when the wife and I weren't watching television or doing something, like whatever I was reading about crypto or listening to podcasts. So it's like, you have to really like it and be interested in it. And for me, it was just like really fascinating.
So you say podcasts a lot. So do you get most of your information from podcasts?
Yeah, a fair bit. Like, I don't know what the ratio would be, but it's just like a really digestible format that you can have on when you're, sanding your yacht or whatever people do these days.
But do you subscribe to certain ones, or do you purposely search out topics that are interesting to you?
I've done both. So,
yeah.
Like, I started coin stuff in 2015, like just trading it, and then got into like really learning about it around 2020 when DeFi summer took off, and it was like, is there a podcast about DeFi? So I found this one called the DeFi Times, and they've since changed their name twice, and then they split off and formed different ones. But yeah, so I mean, I found ones that are good general ones like Bankless. I'm not getting paid to say these names, just so everyone knows. Because yeah, so like Bankless, the Defiant, the Friends Validator podcast, like there's Unchained. There's a lot out there I listen to. I have to look at my phone because Raul Paul's one is pretty good, Real Vision. Frank Chaparro's The Scoop, the Pomp podcast, the Subhead Show about Avalanche. Like there's like ones that are specific to each project, which is cool, and then there's ones that are kind of like general. Like probably one of the best ones is Metaverse, which has been around, not Metaverse, the Meta Center, the Epicenter. That's been around forever. But yeah, they're just good because they have like really smart people that know what they're talking about, and are pretty serious about their topic. And I don't know, like I just think I think the space is fascinating. Like you're at the cutting edge of like cryptography, like distributed systems, like network architecture, economics, finance, and each one of those is a rabbit hole by itself. And you suddenly have like this field where you can utilize like all your basic skills, like, hey, how do you do math or think through things economically? And you have the ability to see all this like played out like in an open playing field where anyone can like dabble within this and do it. Like you could learn like how to code Solidity and have a smart contract in 6 months and build something. Like it's just the most like open, transparent, flat, and like do-it-yourself ecosystem of ecosystems. It's just amazing. Like that's why I really like it.
Bart, like you're learning Solidity, right?
Yeah. So I told JP I was going to spend 30 minutes a day learning. I made it 2 days in a row. I did Thursday, Friday. I haven't picked it up since. I did mint a zombie factory. I don't know. I should post it later. It's a good little resource, but yeah, I'm just trying to understand how it works, right? I feel like not having that technical skill is holding me back a bit. So if I could really do it in 6 months, I mean, I might, that's about as fast.
How technical?
Go ahead.
So you're the POAP guru around here. You created the POAP, or you submitted it or whatever. Does that involve any technical skill to do that, or do you just basically send them an email with the image?
You fill out a form. I mean, honestly, the POAP team has done a great job to where you fill out a form. I have a really awesome team at Van Eck to help us with the art. I upload the file. I tell them what it's about. So I could make it sound more difficult than it is, but that'd be a disservice to POAP. It's a good platform.
Cool. So I'm gonna ask you a question, there, Patrick. What's the Moonshot application for Web3 gonna be? What's the thing that's gonna turn all the haters and the naysayers and the Joe Weisenthals of the world into believers?
I gotta think.
And you don't have to. Yeah.
But say it, JP. Give me more.
You don't have to. I'm not trying to say, what chain is going to be the thing. Is it going to come from gaming? Is it going to come from DeFi? Is it going to come from some integration of an existing platform like Amazon or Facebook? Like Reddit, for example, just launched an NFT platform, and it was interesting because when they did it, the word NFT was nowhere to be found, and the announcement or the NFT. But it's an NFT. It's built on Flow, right, Bartlett? Like, and it's so. Is it going to be what's going to be the thing that really turns my mom or somebody who's 50 years old who doesn't care about crypto, and then they're going to download their first decentralized application?
I don't know. There's the not safe for work answer, which I imagine what you could think what that might be.
Yep.
That parallels the internet. But then the other one is just like I really feel like there's a lot of people that want to look at identity as this like new way of expressing themselves in a public manner. And I think the optimal place to do that would be like in a metaverse type architecture. So I think that like having this unique world where you have these capabilities and you're able to express yourself however you want is a really cool use case. Like you think about like World of Warcraft, you could be like a dungeon master or a wizard or whatever. I obviously didn't play that game, but just like the concept is that you're free to craft your own image and your own personality in ways you aren't able to in the real world. And so I think drawing a game that enables you to do that in a real like grabbing sense that really draws you in, I think you obviously would want to pair that with some kind of immutable way of keeping those characteristics and not being able to lose the things you've made, the things you've won, or the money you have. And so like this is like what Vitalik talks about was why he was interested in this, in building Ethereum, because like he had this super magical spell that was like, I suppose like too powerful for the game he played. And that's why he wanted to build Ethereum. And so I think that's like what you'll see is like you'll want people to have this immutable characteristic of distributed networks that are permissionless and that don't get deleted. And the other one I'll say, and this one is going to be controversial, ding, 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 is the fact that the United States as an entity has controlled the global financial system and has run it at its own behest for, what is it now, like 80 years? And so I think the concept going forward is that other nation states who realized at some point in their history that they're on the wrong side of the United States now understand the United States will utilize and weaponize the system against them. And so I think the use case comes from entities wanting to have some global distributed permissionless ledger where one entity does control it at their expense. So those are like my 3 long form answers. So you got to interrupt me like, no, bro, that's stupid, like, or something.
No, it's good. I almost feel like it will be something little more simple, or a Web3 version of a Web2 company now. Like, I forget if you were on the call with me last week with the Chingara, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the TikTok of India, and creators are paid to make these videos, and you have people in emerging markets making $20 to $30 a day, which is pretty fantastic. I don't know how much longer they can continue that, but that's going to onboard a lot of people. I want to say they were in the tens of millions, if I remember right, in terms of number of users. That could catch fire. And it may not be that application, but it could be something like that, where you could.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and we talked about this with Siegel. Is like there's a difference between us, where we live in the United States. If I want to send you, if we make a bet, Bartlett, and I owe you $1,000, I can just do that in Zelle or whatever, or PayPal or whatever, right? And if you live in a developing country where maybe you don't have a bank account or whatever, I just think is a mindset difference for people who are in a developing country versus a developed country as it relates to technology and how they use their technology. And just like you said, $30 a day is a huge deal to some people, and the onboarding is a huge deal too. That's a great point. My personal answer to the Moonshot application is just like Fortnite of gaming. It's going to be Fortnite. And I think they've kind of said they're not going to do it, but like we've written a bunch of blogs about this, and we're still writing blogs about this. Is there's this disconnect between what's happening in Web3 and what's happening in let's say Activision, traditional AAA publishers, where there's some pushback from normal gamers who are on Twitch from the crypto space, because they see it as DLC, they see it as a microtransaction that they don't want to pay for. And the other side of that is, if I'm grinding COD and everything I do is just spend $15 every month or whatever on my, why wouldn't I want to be able to sell some of these
Exactly.
weapons or whatever for $15 back, and then I've got some COD tokens or whatever, and I can. So I think that there needs to be some kind of there's going to be a game, I think, where they're going to NFT the items, and there's going to be all of a sudden, how many millions of people play Call of Duty, and then everybody who plays Call of Duty is going to fundamentally understand what an NFT is, and going back to the immutable characteristics of, hey, like my guy, he's got, like the clown, the goofy characters that they have in Call of Duty, where your guy's got a trucker hat, American flag, and has a pump action shotgun or whatever, right? Like that's your guy, right? And you can make him specific to you, or you build him out a certain way, and nobody else has that guy because he's yours, right? And that's, I think, the gaming thing. I think it's just going to come from gaming, and so we're playing crypto games. I know people on your team are playing crypto games too. Aximus just said Gala is launching a blockchain game on Epic very soon. Every day, you read the newsletters, or you read this and that, and like, there's so many people working on it that it's just going to happen. It's just so many smart people are working on it. People who built Halo or built, Fortnite are now working on the blockchain version of that. And to think that that's not going to hit is, I think, a little bit of a head in the sand thing. So it's interesting. Great topic. Wow.
Yeah.
Great thing.
I think that's like, it's like, it makes the most sense to me too, because it's like, if you were going to build this world, like what would be the best way to transfer value that you can keep and it's safe? It's going to be like crypto economics of like layer ones or layer zeros, whatever blockchain it's on, right? Like, it makes sense to me. The one pushback that I've thought of on that is like, so some of these gamers and some of the people that play these things, there's like a relationship they have with the video game, even though they're paying for it, they still find it to be like pure, for lack of a better term, and like they would feel that money would pollute it. And for aspect of it, like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of pleasure out of this, but then like once you do money to it, it kind of like muddles things. So maybe like that's what they're getting at. I don't know, like, because I find it hard to push back too hard against that thesis, though. Like it's gonna take over, right?
It already is taken over, right? Like, it's already taken over. I mean, anybody, and that's the thing that the free to play. I did a lot of work on video gaming and stuff like that in the last couple of years, and so like I've done a lot of research on this. And the free to play thing, Fortnite's free to play, Call of Duty Warzone's free to play. I mean, isn't Valorant free to play too now? There's all these ridiculously awesome games that are free to play.
Yeah.
If I was 20 years old and all these games are free to play, like, I would not be able to make it through college, right? Like, it's just too crazy. The games are too good. And but you're also paying into it. Fortnite makes billions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
So it's not a great game for charity, even though it's a free game. So there's this people I follow on on Twitter or whatever, and there was a streamer who was like, she played a game, I guess, and like realized during the stream that it was a crypto game, and then said something like, "Oh my god, like I'm so sorry I played this crypto game," and she spelled it
blasphemy.
P. She spelled it like it was a cuss word, like she used an asterisk in one of the things. And then it was just like, and then all the just do better, or just you have to be careful for that, and blah blah blah. And it's just like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't get it. Like,
I mean, we've been playing the EV.io game, and I think this week or last, it's free. You hop in and you could earn Solana. Like, it's great. Even if you're not good, it's still fun.
Yeah, and that's a fun game, and that's one of the things. Like, look, Axie Infinity, I mean, is it that fun to put your little guys into a ring and, like, not do anything? And, I think you can say that for a lot of the early versions of these Web3 games where you're, like, when you play FIFA or Madden or Call of Duty, you're, like, playing a game, right? You're, like, moving the guy around and doing whatever. Some of these early iterations of the Web3 games, it's more of, like, it's, like, more like turn-based, put the two guys in, what are their attributes? One of them's probably going to win, maybe the other one wins, but you're not playing it, right? You're just throwing them in together. So that EV game, you sent it to me, Barlin. We fire it up off work hours, and it's just like immediately fun. It's like immediately I'm having a good time playing it, and there's going to be more of that, I think. So, yeah, my vote is definitely going to be gaming for the Moonshot. So yeah, you mentioned something, Patrick, where you said value. You said something about value, and we did our test conversation for this call. We talked about. You said something about value accrual, and you started you got a little long-winded, and you were like, oh well, the value accrual or this or.
Oh yeah, it was about Bitcoin security. Yeah, it was another.
No. It was the first. I was So it was when you were talking about how are these specific tokens or projects creating long-term value, right? And I know that like what you do is maybe not based in equity valuation, but it comes into it, right? Like you're trying to create, hey, this project has this many users, generates this much revenue, I think it's worth this much, right? And then the other side of that, there's people who are saying, well, that's self-contained, right? That's self-contained. New people are putting money in. There's new people coming in because they think they're going to get rich. But what is the value output? And I just would like to hear what your thoughts, like, how are we going to cross that bridge where it's not just going to be self-contained? Or is it okay to be self-contained? Fortnite's a $4 billion a year company. It's self-contained, Does it need to spread out from that different ecosystem? So what do you think about that?
So I think it's just at the end of the day, like, what are these things? Like, what are we even dealing with, like, computer software, right? That's all the blockchain is computer software. It's connected to a bunch of computers that say the same thing and that know the same thing. And they're able to tell the others this is what we think, this is what's going on, and everyone passes that information along and agrees this is what's going on. Like that. So it's like, I think these things are all going to interconnect. Like, that's what the glory of all this is, and why I kind of like application or blockchains to be, there's going to be thousands or tens of thousands of blockchains, because it's like each blockchain can do something, and then connecting them all to be able to communicate, like that's why it breaks out. Because then, like, you could take your NFT and then you could sell it for real currency, and then that real currency you'll use in your wallet to buy a coffee in the real world, or maybe you'll tip your favorite YouTube star or gamer, or maybe, like, you can think of a million things that connect. I think it breaks out from that, and that's like the whole idea of network effect. Is just like it starts, and then the value comes when people start using it and connecting other users, and like it's an explosion, exponential, like, usership and connections, and that's when, like, it really blows up, I think.
So I feel like you keep going at, do you think network effect is kind of like the most important thing at this point of the game, not game, but at this point of the cycle? Is network effect the most important kind of metric that you look at? If you look at 5 different projects, do you immediately like the one that's got the most users?
Yeah, initially, but it's like I make this analogy. It's like we're still in the phase of the game where there's like each ecosystem is trying to attract the most number of monkeys that are making the novel. The novel in this case is like the really awesome application, right? So the more monkeys you can bring in and the more people that use that application, like, maybe it'll blow up and become big. And it's still like we're waiting for that really awesome big use case to explode. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, the users is great. It's an economic system, great. But like, can it scale? Can it go to the next level? That's what I'm thinking. And that's what we're trying to figure out. Usership's awesome though, like, no question.
Okay. Let's come up for.
Is that too many monkeys? Monkey, too much.
No, it's good, man.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Let's come up for air. Let's do the po-op, right? We got tens of people in here right now. We got over 20 people in. So we're gonna have room for everybody who wants a po-op. So I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, JP, so for everyone listening, po-ops can be farmed, and we want to be careful about that, right? So please don't share the QR code that JP puts up. This is just for people who are actually listening live to be able to collect the po-op, right? So just collect one and let that be enough, and we'll keep doing it as well.
Don't send it to the bot farm. We got in trouble with Lucas when he was on because he made 500 for us, and then somehow the bots got a hold of it, and they all, like, a bunch of them got claimed, and I think Lucas got kind of mad at me because he thought I was like sending it out to my bot army, but I wasn't. So, and the first 2 are gone. I actually claimed the first one this morning, so it's good. It's working. So if you guys, all you need to do is just hold your phone up to this. You don't need to open it up in your DApp. Just open it up on your cell phone. Take a picture of it or whatever, and then when you see the little QR thing, click it so it opens up in your web, and then you just copy paste your ETH address, and then it'll process and you'll claim it. So nobody's claimed it yet. We got 21 viewers. We'll see how many we can get. And
let's talk about the background. Yeah,
I will, and I've got it saved up here. So this po-op is pretty cool, and there's a famous meme called the mid-twit meme. All right, we're getting po-ops getting claimed. There's a mid-twit meme where there's an IQ curve, IQ bell curve, and on the left side, on the right side is a genius, and there's plenty of different topics, but crypto is our topic. So in the crypto ones, it's like on the right side there's a genius. In the middle, the mid-twit is just like, you can kind of think of like the everyman, the normal guy.
But who thinks he's really smart, though.
Right.
Yes, who thinks he's really smart because he reads a lot. Yeah. and on the left side is somebody with low IQ who you would consider dumb or whatever. And the two people on the extremes agree with each other for different reasons. So the guy on the right thinks that Bitcoin's a good idea because he's got all these, he understands that the decentralized nature of the software holds a lot of promise and the fiat currency and blah, blah, blah. And then the guy on the left side just says Bitcoin goes up. I like it. And then the guy in the middle is just like creating all these mental gymnastics about why it shouldn't be going up or why it's Ponzi or why it's stupid or blah blah blah. So it's a funny meme. So I wanted to do it where us three, me, Bartlett, and Patrick, were representatives on that curve. I offered to be the midway.
See, that's the problem. Obviously, we're gonna have Patrick be the genius, and I was gonna be the low IQ. Of course, I mean. Anyway, this is why we did not do that, because my face would have been the low IQ on the blockchain for my kids to see someday.
But your kids are going to see you being low IQ on the show. I mean, we're not going to delete in these YouTubes, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to have opportunity to see that kind of stuff anyway. Anyway, there was disagreement among the council about who was going to be mid-twit or not, or whatever. So we didn't get to do it. I like the pull-up. And so anyway, so what we did was made a pull-up. Shout out to Donna Pearson, co-founder of the NFT project. Did a great job as usual designing this thing. It's very cool. There's people trickling in here. We got 18 pull-ups out the door already. I mean, I'm gonna keep it up for another minute or two. I'm gonna transfer to this other thing. So this is what it is. So we gave everybody the guy on the right, stack sats and hodl on the right. He's a genius. The other guy on the left stack sat in the hodl, and then the guy in the middle is trying to trade it. So. That's the perfect example of the mid-twit meme. We got people.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to do meme like POAPs for the foreseeable future on these shows. Maybe we could hit them all.
Well, we did a meme contest for crypto. We did a Bitcoin swag contest, and we did a thing on Twitter where it's like submit your memes and. Didn't really get off the ground. Didn't get a lot of good submissions, but we had a couple. We had a couple of participation trophies we gave out. But yeah, we're gonna be the new meme squad here, Bartlett, you and me. So every time we get a guest. So Patrick, man, you're a lucky guy. Brendan Gunnarsson stacking sets. I want to keep going away from this thing, but it keeps going up. So
it's gonna run out at 50. It should run out at 50.
And we're about halfway there. We're at 24.
Yeah, let it go.
Maybe, are you sure we're not getting bot attacked right now?
Dude, when the bot hit,
yeah, somebody had like 200 in their wallet or something.
Yeah, like it was like we were talking, and then it just went nuts. It went from because there were like same thing now. It's like 25, 30 people on the show, and then we had like 20, 30 people, and then we kept going, took the thing off, and then Lucas called me after the show. He's like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So it was. I got red in the face on that one. All right, 25 out of 50. I mean, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch out of this screen, and then everybody who didn't get a pull-up can yell at me, and then we'll bring it back later. Great. That was pretty successul. 26 out of 50.
Great.
That's really good. I appreciate everybody being. I mean, it's a big deal. Thank you guys for thanks for showing up and participating.
And we don't have it figured out yet, but we are going to reward our POAP holders down the road. Admittedly, I don't have the answer yet, but if you continue to join us and collect them, we're going to reward those people who are joining in as often as they can. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay, so another thing we talked about before we were getting this thing going. Hold on, somebody's messaging me. Get all these messages. Still on YouTube. Yes, sir, I am, Mr. Code. We got a chat. The guy Shivam Kandawal. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. So why is there no Discord group for VanEck NFT holders? It's because there's compliance restrictions, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that we're a registered investment advisory firm. We're a registered broker dealer. So there are certain rules we have to follow as it relates to communications and record keeping. And when you get into Discord, you really open the door up to a whole bunch of stuff that we are not going to expose ourselves to. As a person who's on Discord, I get a million inbound, not a million, but you get DMs, you get scams. What if somebody in our Discord group gets a DM from a scam VanEck NFT and they link their wallet and all their NFTs get stolen? What if somebody's in the VanEck Discord and they start, bad mouthing?
Or just making complaints. That's a
making complaints. You know, that's a whole thing. So we can't do it right now. Maybe we'll be able to do it someday.
I want to share. Yeah,
Do it.
we've been working on building a forward-looking, innovative metaverse space that would serve as the community's communication tool, and it's through Portals, which is a Solana project. So we've purchased a room that will hold 100 to 120 people, I believe, at once. It has games, arcade games. You could play chess. You could screen share in voice chat, jump around, dance, whatever you want to do. And so we just got approval for that. So I'm hoping we'll come out maybe mid-September, late September, and we'll have some virtual events there. But my hope is that that's the space where, if JP and Patrick are community members and they just want to jump in and chat, that's your Discord. That's your place to do it. Yeah. And you're free to talk about most topics as long as it's not investment related or, breaks any of the rules. But that should be a really cool space.
Yeah, very cool. All right, CZ. Should I share my screen again? You guys can't see the screen, so it doesn't matter for sure. So CZ posted, and then Weisenthal is for some reason like my arch nemesis. CZ posted, Bitcoin first got to 20K 5 years ago. Bitcoin is around 20K now. Today's price does not erase all the development and adoption in the past 5 years. Price is just a reflection of mass psychology, not progress. And Weisenthal made it. I mean, the guy makes decent points to me. I mean, like, even though he's a hater, he drinks a haterade. And his point was basically like, so we're back at 20,000, even though all this institutional adoption, even though there's global participation from institutions. Is that a fail? Like, what do you think about that? Like, does Bitcoin need to keep going up forever for you to be successful? What do you think about that, Patrick?
I don't know. It's definitely interesting because I would say it's not like a good comparison. Like 20,000 today, 20,000, like whatever period of time 5 years ago, that was like at the peak of the speculative bubble. And I don't know if anyone here is old enough to remember, but the NASDAQ during speculative bubble reached it in 2000, 2001, and you didn't see the same high till 2015. So does that mean that the 14 years in between that the NASDAQ was just worthless, nothing happened? Like, of course not. Like, that's a completely absurd premise. Like, so I think if you think about it in terms of that, something like Bitcoin will go through speculative manias as everything else does, particularly during the period of time we are at now. And so I think that long term, like, it still has value. It's interesting. It's got a giant network, but the way in which I see it is like, there's a lot of questions of the long-term viability of Bitcoin as a project and as a network. And so it's like, will it be around in 50,000 years? It's supposed to be, but in other ways it might get outcompeted or it might not have the best design, in my opinion. Not to say too much, I'll open it up so I don't go on a rant.
Well, we talked about this yesterday, and you said something like, look, Bitcoin's a software, and this is kind of how I think about it too. It's a software. It facilitates payments of Bitcoin to other people, but it's not like they're not building a Bitcoin social network. They're not building a Bitcoin Amazon store top of it, right? Like, they're building the Lightning Network, which, from what I understand in my far left dumb side of the IQ scale, it's basically allowing people to send Bitcoin faster and more efficiently and potentially cheaper, right? That's what Lightning is going to do. But they're not like building stuff on top of it like they do Ethereum or Solana, where you're building applications on top of it, right? So, and then you got into a really good thing about the miners yesterday, which was interesting to me too. I mean, is mining a long-term viable business model if the hash rate keeps getting cut in half, or if the halving happens every X years and electricity costs? I don't know if you guys follow on Twitter all the stuff that's going on in Europe. I don't know if you ever read the news. Like, I mean, is that a viable long-term economic business model for a company?
Yeah, like, I think the first thing to mention is, like, I'm not, as the kids would say, awake, or what are they, woke? Whoa. I'm not, as the kids say, woke. But I think there's a lot of concern long-term with, like, the research allocation. It's like you just have these computers that are solving this stupid random number problem, right? Like that's the basis of this cryptography. They're solving this equation, and it's like, how much resources are you going to pour into this, like long term? It's like, if I'm playing like Age of Empires, eventually the map runs out of trees. They can't make any more stuff, and so that's kind of like one way to look at it. The other way is like, so it's got to change potentially. The other way is like, this is what JP was talking about, is like, okay, so the way in which the miners, so again, the miners are basically large, complex machines solving like a type of mathematical puzzle. And like, they're using energy and they're using smart people to do it. Like, it's basically machine, energy, smart people, output, like random numbers to solve an equation so they can mine a block, right? So they're basically the authors of the history book. Each page, they get to write the history book. And so what's the reward for writing the history book? Bitcoin, of course. And so what happens is, okay, so like, the miners mine a block. The one writes a page, and then the one that like is able to solve that problem gets to write the next page, so on and so forth. The reward for solving that problem is about they get the transactions in the blocks, the transaction fees, and they also get the block reward. And so over time, the block reward is decreasing, right? So over time, the amount of computing power you need essentially is going to go up just to solve that problem, right? Or sorry, to get the same amount of money for solving the same problem. At the same time, the problem's difficulty is increasing relative to how many computers in the network. So it becomes this paradigm where it's like, okay, the reward's not very high, so maybe computers drop out of the network, and then the transaction fees might not be there to keep pace because no one's really transacting because it's a store of value. So that's like, where does the security budget, the reward for the miner to keep them incentivized to be doing this come into play? Like, where are they going to find that? So it's like, the viability in the long run isn't very good. So a lot of newer crypto economic models, like new economies using cryptocurrency, do use inflation to reward the miner. So instead of saying you have to have transactions, they say, well, I'm just going to take a little bit out of you every single day, like through inflation, kind of like a senior age or in a real economy inflation, and give it to people securing the network. So your security budget is baked in, versus Bitcoin, it's kind of like dwindling. So it's like, if you were to attach like a fixed value, like using dollars to security, right? Like if it's like $10 billion today, it's very possible it might be like $1 billion tomorrow. So it's like, okay, like, so now it's less secure in the future. And so I think a lot of people are starting to understand that there's this dilemma inherent in that, like from like sustainability in terms of resources, and then from like, hey, you actually pay to secure the network. The network nodes, like, will they have enough incentive not to lie and still be there to keep the network up?
And
that was a lot. Sorry.
And I'm just gonna change the subject because that was I don't have anything to add on that. And I'll just say that brings us to the merge, right? Like, that brings us to the merge because Ethereum's proof of work right now, and that's what Bitcoin is, and they're switching to proof of stake. And the thinking is that it's much less energy intensive. But the trade-off is that it's much more centralized. So, what's Patrick Bush, senior investment analyst at VanEck, two sentences on the merge.
I think it's pronounced the merge.
Do you pronounce Target like Target?
No. Well, I mean, I don't know how you pronounce. I mean, you theoretically could pronounce whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a Swiss company, right? So it's like Swiss French. What's the two sentences? First is that the network will now be secured by the value of the network itself rather than miners solving it using a big equation. So that is first. Second is that it will be more sustainable, more environmentally friendly, and more resource efficient, and also enable it to go to the next steps to be upgraded further to allow more transactions to go through it. So those would be kind of the two summary sentences.
What?
So it's going to be more.
Go ahead, JP.
No.
What happens to these thousands of mining rigs?
That's anyone's guess. No one knows. Like, because they have a very specific, like the mining rig themselves, they're a very specific type of computer that solves a very specific type of problem. So maybe like you could see that show up in something where you need to render graphics. So by that I mean, like when you do CGI in a movie, right? The CGI in the movie has to be rendered using like lots of computational power. So theoretically, like the companies might buy that. There's a project called Render that is a decentralized crypto version, as they might buy some. Some might go to Ethereum Classic, and then a big portion might try to mine this new, like the fork. So, like, I don't know, should we talk about what a fork even means?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's like if I'm like writing the history books, like this is I have another piece of paper in here. Hold on. Okay, so I have two history books here, right? And this is like the current Ethereum, right? And so what happens is like there's a page, and each page contains the transactions in a 13-second span of time, right? And so what happens is a fork is a new network starts, a new history book starts, and it ends, and it goes a different direction. So on this page, right, this is page 812 in each book. This one will say something, and this one will say something else. And then those two networks will diverge because in the case of Ethereum, the miners will continue on with the old one and go that way, and the people who are doing proof of stake will continue writing history pages that way, right? So the histories will be different because people are using it differently, and they're not the same anymore. So it's a complete fork. It's an entirely different direction.
Why would anybody want to keep using the old? I mean, is there a risk that like the old fork, so the proof of work fork, the old version of Ethereum stays big and the new version doesn't take off? Or is everybody, what is it called, the difficulty bomb, where they're going to make it really hard to mine it so you get even less rewards? Like, why is it, what do you think about that? Like,
so difficulty bomb, it's just like it's that math problem, right? To have the privilege writing a page of history book, you'd be the first of a group of miners to solve a problem, right? That's how you get to write that book, and so that page in the book. And so like the idea is that it depends on like who comes, like anything else. Like it's like the field of dreams. It's just like a baseball field in Iowa surrounded by corn. Like who cares? You care if Shoeless Joe comes, right? You care if Ty Cobb shows up and starts belting triples and batting 600, right? That's why you care. And so like all the people, Shoeless Joe and his friends, aren't going to be going to proof of work. They'll be going to the new proof of stake merge version. So like all the builders, all the developers have come to an off-chain consensus through Twitter or talking to each other, right? And we're going to go on this one, and the only people going to be on this one are probably going to be miners and maybe incentivized parties. But to that end, there's a lot of people with a lot of money who want this proof of work to continue. And so they may have builders come, they may do whatever. So like Ethereum Classic was a fork of Ethereum in I think 2015 or 2016, I can't remember which year anymore. And they decided to go a different direction because of the results of the hack. And so like they are parallel networks that changed and did the same kind of thing, but then went the directions based upon one different interpretation of a history event. In that case, it was a hack. One party, Ethereum Classic, said, this hack should stand as it is. We're not giving anyone's money back. This is stupid to do it. We cannot. It's a mutable ledger. And so they went on with the chain as if the hack had happened. So everyone had lost their money. On the other end, a bunch of people said, no, this hack is unfair. It's going to destroy the ecosystem. It's not immutable then, but it's immutable from now on. And that's Ethereum today. And so that's like that's like the first fork that really went in Ethereum, or one of the first.
So in your opinion, the conclusion is there's going to be an empty baseball field.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I could be wrong. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's a Saudi Arabian golf league that has like lots of good players now, right? Like,
yeah,
they built it, and so I mean, money talks, and if they can, it's again like we go back to the first paradigm. The first principle is that this is still so new. No one knows the killer app's going to be. If you can get like the best monkeys to write, like The Tale of Two Cities.
Always back to the monkeys with you.
Because like it sits in my mind where like Mr. Burns has all the monkeys in the room typing The Tale of Two Cities, and he reads one of them, and Mr. Burns goes, "It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times." And he goes, "Stupid monkey," and he hits the monkey on the head. Because that's the idea. Like, it's like,
oh my God.
You're basically, for lack of better term, you're hashing the killer application using the brute force of developer meat space, brains, and the ability of the ecosystem to facilitate that, right? And maybe it's facilitated through money, maybe it's facilitated by developer tooling, maybe it's facilitated by having good architecture, whatever, like good throughput. It's like blockchain L1s are a giant store, and like you want to have like good ways to get in and out of the store, and you want to charge people something for the store, but not too much. So that's kind of the equation. So like for a proof of work, Ethereum, it could work. I mean, I don't see why it can't, but it's just like, you just need to have
Ethereum at ETC, Ethereum Classic still trades. I mean, it's still there. It's not like it disappeared.
Yeah, it's a top 30
and Bitcoin Cash, same thing, right? All right, I gotta. I'm gonna yank you back there a little bit. Patrick, what is a trivia question you want to ask? And this is for the people of this is the people of Annex. So go back to that IQ curve. Everybody's on the far right side. All these people in this chat just got the POAP that shows they're the hooded brain.
While he's speaking, do you want to put the QR code back up for the POAP?
Yeah, I'll put the QR code. We actually had 33 people accept that, which is, I think, very exciting and cool. Makes me happy. Is it great? I mean, like, not to go back to how great POAPs are, but it's a great community building tool, and I'm really excited that if you figured out the application form.
It's pretty technical, like I said. So.
I mean, it's cool though. I mean, like, I hope people like it, and I mean, because look, not all of us are NFT whales like you, Bartlett. With 85% of your net worth invested in NFTs. So there's maybe not a willingness for somebody to even $100, right? Like, if for some people who are not in NFTs, I'm not spending $100 on it. Like my little brother, I'm trying to get him to NFTs for the last 2 years, and he refuses to do it. This would be something that maybe he could do, because you don't even need a wallet right now. You just need an email address, and
POAPs are literally. I mean, I'm not going to say they're a secret, but communities are missing out. It's so easy, and guess what? They're in your wallet forever. It's a memory, that one time you got to hear Patrick Bush say the blurst of times. Like, if you were there.
A lot more questions to ask you, but I am out of time. Patrick Bush, definitely the funniest one I've ever seen. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna switch to the disclosure page so we can finish this out. And any closing thoughts there, Matt or Patrick?
Fantastic guest today, Patrick.
Yeah,
that was fun. A lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Talk to you guys.
See you guys later.
See ya.